Hi, welcome to Plaid and Lattes. Today I will not be cooking for you. AJ will be cooking for you, and she will be cooking from the Homemade Cookies Cookbook, which I believe is from the 70s, 82. She will be making my favorite recipe, jam-filled cookies, and she will list the recipe below because you can't really find this book anywhere anymore. And I hope it becomes one of your favorites because it's my favorite.
Hi. All right. So one of the things Mom did forget to mention is that this will be gluten-free. The original recipe is not. We're kind of going to start a series of turning vintage recipes gluten-free because there is some math involved to it. It's not exactly a straightforward thing, unfortunately, because as we've discussed before on this channel, gluten-free flour reacts differently than regular flour, which in some aspects is good. You don't have to need gluten-free flour. You're not activating any glutens. But then again, other certain things will happen. So I am making a half batch of this recipe just because we don't need 5 dozen cookies at the moment. And let me see if this will actually stretch. Cool. I didn't know for sure if it would. So I will be creaming together half a cup of shortening, which is super gross to touch, but it has its place. In fact, you want to put, if you're doing it in a half cup measure, kind of do a rounded top, because you just want that little bit of extra that'll keep your cookies from drying out in the oven. And you're going to
Scrape.
Scrape, 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 scrape. Scrape that, and then half a cup of brown sugar and half a cup of white sugar. And then cream these together. Once your dough is all creamed together, make sure you scrape down your sides. Scrape, scrape, scrape. Don't be afraid of the hook man behind the camera.
If you know what scrape, scrape, scrape is from, go ahead and comment below.
Right. And then, I've made this like a dozen times, but when you don't have your glasses on, you doubt everything you do, for the record. So I will add my egg, brown egg. Normally we always have white eggs in our house, but I love brown eggs because they always feel fancy. Despite the fact they're the exact same, they're just a different color.
Just a different colored chicken.
Yeah. It's a different kind of chicken, but like when people have the rainbow eggs.
They're like magical.
Yes. I love those people. They are my people. And then it says to do buttermilk, but I'm doing kefir instead.
Because we don't keep buttermilk, but we keep kefir.
Exactly. And it doesn't hurt anything. Just hoping that the smell won't attract my cat. Because for the record, kefir is actually really good to give your cats. It's dairy-free.
It's lactose-free.
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 It's lactose-free. And it helps their little tummies, especially if you give them dry food. It helps them digest it better. And my vanilla.
Vanilla.
We do make our own vanilla. With just vodka and vanilla pots. Half a teaspoon-ish. I'll let it spill over just to make Mom happy. Spill over just a smidge.
Makes me happier. It's spilled vanilla.
Yeah.
As long as it's in the bowl.
Yeah. Mix until smooth. Alright, just spinning that around because I am 90% certain that I can just, mix this with a spoon for the rest of it. So, pop these bad boys out.
Scrape, scrape, scrape.
Just make sure they're nice and clean. If it was frosting, you just hand it to somebody, but
I'm not eating probably. Thanks though. No rooster juice for me, thanks.
you can't see the rooster juice.
I'm not eating it.
Princess. Alright. And then So since the original, so I'll put the original and the halved recipe both up. The original is 3.5 cups, so this is 1 3/4 cup, which took me a minute to figure out. I'm right. I know I'm right. I double checked. And
math, it's not for me.
come on. Yes, I'm using a charmed cup.
No biggie with that, man.
Charmed, I'm sure.
Charmed, I'm sure.
Then you have a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, baking soda, salt, and ground nutmeg.
Yes.
That's why these cookies are awesome for Christmas time.
They're awesome anytime.
Yeah. And then give it a good mix.
And that's just the President's Choice gluten-free flour?
Yes. So, as I mentioned before, I will mention again, if you can't get the President's Choice one, just make sure you're getting a flour with lots of starches. Try not to get one that's too heavy on the coconut flour. That's a totally different mixture.
Yeah.
Most now will come with xanthan gum. If there isn't, definitely get some to add. You don't need a lot.
But it helps.
But yeah, it helps it just stabilize. And like I said, make sure you add a little extra shortening to it because it will dry out. And this one you do have to chill. So once it is
Mixed.
fully incorporated,
Scrape.
just, Sir Mix-a-Lot it up. I was wondering, was he Sir Mix-a-Lot because he was really good at mixing stuff? Or I'm guessing he was a DJ before he made his own songs, but still.
Yeah, I would think so.
And then, alright, now it's all mixed up. I'm going to put it in another bowl, cover it in saran wrap. And it doesn't actually say in here how long to refrigerate it for because old recipes. I'm going to stick it in for about an hour. And then I'll check it, and if it's not, then I'll tell you that stick it in for a little bit longer. And
stick it in for a little longer.
More than just the tip. We'll be back shortly. Hi. So a couple seconds for you, about 2 hours for us. I ended up leaving it in a little longer. You don't want it solid, but you do want it firmer. And then one of the biggest tips I will give you is when you are cooking or rolling anything out with gluten-free flour, make sure your cloth is really damp when you wipe down your surface and your rolling pin, because otherwise the flour will not stick to it. That is something I learned through trial and error when you're trying to roll out dough and it just keeps sticking because the flour isn't sticking enough.
Yeah, it's because it's so starchy.
Yeah.
It just doesn't stick to
Stuff the same way.
Yep.
Actually, I'm going to split that in half and do half at a time, just to make it a little easier on myself. And then, so I'm going to roll it out. It's about 1/8 of an inch thick. You can measure, or if you roll a lot of cookies in your time, you know what it is by now. And then I have my mason jar lid cookie cutter. And so you cut out your circles. Oops. Try not to dust it off onto the dough. Place it down, cut out. Just pop that onto another circle. And then you're going to take your jam with your cute little kitten spoon. Put in the middle. Spread it a little bit. And then cut your top. Pop it out. dust it off. Place over top. And then you're gonna do just a little.
Trying to move your jam.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Just a little pinch with your fork. I can do another one overhead shot.
Okay. Yeah, you want to press it firm.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Pressing it firm and trying not to kill it. And then you can use a knife. I'm just going to use a fork and do a little X. Perfect. Get up and slide it onto your cookie sheet. And you're going to repeat that until you run out of dough. Then pop it in 350 for 10 to 15 minutes. And we'll see you back then. So a better view of this is the overhead as promised ahead. Couple spoons of jam. Spread out. You don't want it to go all the way to the edge because then it will just ooze all out. And then your other half. Sweep off, and I do find using this kind of brush best for that. Though typically I like a silicone brush. And push. You do want to push through to connect it, but don't push too hard or it'll just break apart. The gluten-free makes this dough a little gentler than if you were making it just regular with gluten. And then you can use a knife if you want to, like the instructions are, but I like just using a fork. Cute. And pop it onto your cookie sheet. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? The eggnog. As Laura Calder says, with chicken milk. So I did end up cooking them for 11 minutes, but just keep an eye on them. With gluten-free flour, you do want to keep an eye on how long you're baking them for. Temperature, all that jazz, because it can burn easy. And it undercooks really weirdly, so
It's both burnt and undercooked.
Exactly, it's a Susan Myers dish. So it's really great at Christmas time. Goes really great with eggnog or eggnog hot chocolate. I'll leave the link to our video below. Feel free to like and subscribe this video, especially if you actually make them and enjoy them. I made them with the smaller mason jar lid. If you make them with a smaller round cookie cutter, you'll get more out of it. But I like them bigger. It's, you know, it's like a little hand pad. You want to come taste the wonderment?
Yes. Thank you.
No worries.
These are my favorite cookie ever. They are super soft.
They keep
That
really well.
little bit, yes, they keep well. A little bit of jam in there.
It's like childhood, but better because it's gluten-free and doesn't hurt your joints.
It's a little bit of spice. They're not super spicy. It's just that little something.
They're just cozy.
And they're so much better with raspberry jam. I've done them with strawberry.
But the raspberry cuts the sweetness. Strawberry jam, as good as it is, sometimes just hits too sweet. So definitely raspberry.
You can have your own.
I'll have my own.
This one.
That one's yours? All right.
Then I want some
nog.
chicken milk.
Some nog of chicken. Chicken nog.
Thanks.
No problem. By the way, this is the better, once again, not sponsored, but if you can find the Lucerne, it's a lot lighter than some of the other eggnogs, which are a little thick.
And way too sweet.
Yeah, too sweet, too sweet. Too sweet, too thick. And, yeah. Also go good with eggnog latte. I don't think I've made a video for that yet, but I certainly can. And till next time, stay caffeinated, stay cozy. If there are any vintage recipes that you remember from your childhood that you would like to be made gluten-free, feel free to leave it below if anyone actually comments, because no one really comments on these yet. Yet being the operative word. Till then, I have plenty of cookbooks from the 60s and 70s and 80s to find really cool stuff to make gluten-free. Hope you enjoy.